I think it's a good record, and to me it sounds like a Pink Floyd record, and that's all I really care about. Pink Floyd it's a kind of attitude of mind. I mean, the things we've done and the way we've done them. It seems to me quite reasonable and easy for me to put myself into that frame of mind and go into it and make a record, make a Pink Floyd record. And I didn't really have any great concerns as to whether I could do it or not. I knew I could do it, but obviously one doesn't know whether you're going to make the best Pink Floyd record or whether you're going to make an average Pink Floyd record or above average Pink Floyd record. I don't honestly know. Momentary lapses of reason are what give you the great joys in life as well as some of your worst mistakes. Don't forget, it's never too late to make another big mistake. God, it's hard to describe album titles. I know what it means to me, but I can't really describe what it should mean to anyone else. All I know is that everyone at the record company and everywhere else told me, it's too much of a mouthful, Dave. Can't you make it something simpler? I know what it means to me and other people. It's quite a straightforward, simple phrase, which means something to me and is relevant to the album. It's very, very hard to think of an appropriate title that doesn't focus too much on one thing. If you've got a whole album, say I'd called it The Dogs of War or something, which is one of the titles on the album, that would be wrong. That's not what the album is about. That's what that one song is about. So you have to think of a much wider thing, which encompasses something within all the stuff that's on it, I think. The whole record I hope is there to provoke thought and to make people think and wonder. And if they get slightly confused by what some of it means, that's fine with me. I really don't have any desire to sort of put them straight or explain it. It's good for them. Make them think a little bit, Which is why I'm kind of loath to get into too much detail on what songs are about or what their meaning is or stuff like that. They don't specifically link up together. We just try to make the changes from one track to another a musical, and we try to put the tracks in an order that bears a relevance. And it's not a vast, prearranged, thought-out process on this record to create some sort of a concept. There isn't a specific concept like in some of the records, most of the records we've tended to do over the last few years. We didn't intend to sequence them all together with joining up bits, but some of them obviously are butted up fairly tight or crossfade. So we actually started this record in a very different way to most records, where we sat down in a studio and we actually worked using a computer. So we actually had virtually done the record in a kind of demo form in England using all this stuff. And we knew what we wanted and how we wanted it to be very much. And we came out to Los Angeles and got a lot of musicians in to help us get that down for real on tape. And we didn't have any sort of preconceptions about how we should do it or who we should use. We just called people up and said, come in, do this. And all of this stuff is trying to get a vision that you have in your head onto a piece of vinyl or CD to get into other people's ears. And whatever method you use, whatever technology or people you use to achieve that is wonderful. Obviously, the other point about it is that other people's points of view on the music that you're doing can be stimulating, so it's great to have other musicians actually playing on it and not doing exactly what you tell them. So sometimes they're right. I have to do most of it because Roger's gone. What can I do? I'm left holding the baby. So I just have to get my finger out and work a bit harder, really. I was very glad to have got a solo record under my belt before I attempted this project, because on that I had to do an awful lot of lyric writing. And it's something for me that demands an enormous amount of time and application. For music, a little tape machine, and for lyrics, I carry around a little notebook and jot everything down. I turn on my little tape machine when I'm walking down the street, when I hear a noise going on, just to remind me of something. Or if I think of a guitar phrase or a phrase, a melody phrase, I can just sing it or play it into the machine, and then I kind of forget about it, and I come back to it later, years later sometimes, and listen through to hours and hours of tiny little 5 or 10-second doodles. And the ones that you understand why you did it later are the ones that you often start working on, because a lot of them you listen, you think, what on earth did I put that on there for? You have no recollection or memory of what it does, and it doesn't move you. And so you think, well, that one goes in the bin. But there you do get a lot that you think, oh, there's really something in there. I think the moments that we achieved the best sort of balance between those things was probably Wish You Were Here and Dark Side of the Moon. I've always been fond of the balance of music to lyric of that sort of period. I'm very happy with all the other stuff. I think with The Wall too, it's a great record. I love it. But I think sometimes the balance between the importance of the various things that go on in a record is very, very important. And for me, it's certainly slightly more towards the music and the emotion of the music that is slightly more important than the words and the idea of the words, which was always Roger's viewpoint, that he was slightly more to that side of things. I think there's a kind of a counterpoint between, you can have very, very black lyrics, but if the music that is accompanying those black lyrics is emotional and uplifting, then you get a sort of a counterpoint which creates the other side of it, which gives the optimism to it, if you like. And you don't actually have to say any of that in the lyric at all. I personally don't mind how dark lyrics tend to get. I think it's what accompanies them that gives you that feeling. And if you can make the music uplifting in some sort of way, emotionally uplifting music, then you can get away with putting things that are very dark into the lyrics. Rick left in 1979. Roger left in December 85. That leaves the two of us. I thought it would be a good thing to try and get some of Rick's particular sound, the way he sounds, onto the record, and asked him if he'd like to take some sort of a limited part in what we were doing, and he did, and he's coming out and doing the tour with us. But he's not actually rejoined or anything officially, so we have to put it slightly delicately on the record cover and on the tour program and stuff. But he's there as a musician working with us. Neither of our two sides, Rick's side or our side, has committed to saying, anything permanent about the future, that's all. Like I said 3 years ago, to me, Pink Floyd has never ceased to be. We've never made any announcement that we've broken up. None of that stuff, There's been an awful lot of press speculation, and a lot of the press speculation has been taken further by other press as being gospel. And this moment in time, this is what's happening. We're doing a Pink Floyd record and a Pink Floyd tour, and I have every expectation that it won't be the last. But it's a very simple matter, it's a pop group. Roger's left it. That's where it ends. Roger is trying to do some sort of a court action to prevent us from using it, but he hasn't got a hope in hell. I mean, it's a joke. He won't stop us. There's no question about it. There is not really a struggle. I mean, he has a peculiar idea that I keep reading about, that he did it all, and that he wrote all sorts of songs that he didn't write, and that There's all sorts of strange falsehoods and things being said and implied, but in what he is currently putting out. But you know, life's too short to sit and worry about those sort of things. Going back to as far as the Metal album, we're doing a selection of things from Metal, Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, The Wall, and the new album, of course. And we'll do one set of the new album and a set of oldies. I think there are an awful lot of people out there who are genuinely wanting to go out and see a good show and have a good musical and visual experience, and I just don't think they're getting it. And I think that's what it's about. I mean, I think they're willing to take a guess on something that they think has got a reasonable chance of giving them something good, and I think they're very wise. He actually, young English chap guy, he worked on the Dream Academy album. I've known him for some time. He also worked on a thing that I worked on with Brian Ferry. One's not trying to replace Roger Waters' personality or singing, I mean, we're trying to get a bass player. It's not like we're trying to get someone to cover for Roger. It's because the other areas of what Roger does, the singing and stuff, which is, and his leaping about is more, it's areas that we're going to cover in a different way. I mean, we're not going to try and put the whole Roger role onto one chap. No, not really. I honestly don't. No, it's a good album, but I mean, there've been a number of other albums that have been as good as that. But I can understand why it's done better probably than any of the others of ours in terms of longevity, because it's very simple and very clear and very overall, it's very good. I don't know. You'll have to work it out for yourself. I don't know.